After nearly 10 years and an amazing journey of magic and courage, it is time to say goodbye to Hogwarts. In Deathly Hallows Part 2, Harry must find the remaining Horcruxes that possesses Voldemort's soul in order to destroy him and end it all. It's a curious case to review this movie, not only because it's the second part of what might have been one huge film, but it's now officially part of a whole legacy to look back on. I have seen all the films up to this one, but I have only read the books up to Half-Blood Prince, so I honestly did not know what was going to happen in this film as well as in Part 1, as I have not read that book. Personally, I have learned that maybe watching the movie then reading the book is better, because if you read the book and then watch the movie, all you're going to be doing is nitpicking what was and what was not in the movie that was in the book. Whereas if you just watch the movie then read the book, then when you read the book, you're introduced to much even more, greater detail than what you were presented in the movie. I can't describe this film as well as Part 1 without repeating what a lot of people and reviewers have said. Part 1 was mostly the build-up and the character development that had to be made in order to make you care about who makes it and who doesn't in Part 2, which is for the most part just one big wizarding brawl between the ones at Hogwarts and Voldemort's army. There's no need for character development, and there are some secrets and more backstory that is revealed later on in this film, especially one big twist that I wouldn't say I had a problem with, but like I said, I hadn't read the book, so when I saw that on film, I thought it was like, I was kind of like, okay, there's a chance. I'm not saying that, there's always the chance that, like J.K. Rowling, the author, always said, oh, I planned this from the beginning. I gotta be honest, there's just a good of a chance that maybe she pulled this out of nowhere, and I wasn't expecting it, but none of this is to overshadow the purpose of this film, which is just to wrap up the series. Overall, I thought it was great. It's a great payoff to what we've been going through for the past few films. Trying to get to know these characters. They're getting older, so the whole concept, the whole deal between Harry and Voldemort gets even darker. It's not just some fantasy. This shit gets real. And I gotta be honest, like halfway through the series, I was trying to convince myself, how can they make a film like Harry Potter very action-packed and full of thrills if all they're doing is casting spells at one another, especially like in Chamber of Secrets when they're taking turns casting spells at each other. Sure enough, this film does it. It is full of action, and again, it's paced very well. Now, like I said, I have not read Deathly Hallows. I'm actually, after watching this movie, I am very much intrigued into reading it. But again, I have not read Deathly Hallows, so I have no idea what was taken out or what were the key points that they hit in this film. From what I hear from people who have read the book, they managed to get all the things right, even though, of course, they took some liberties with the film. Which every film, I think the cast is just growing stronger and better with their acting skill. Daniel Radcliffe, I think he really shines in this film. I mean, yeah, it is the last one, but I really think he brings his A game to Harry Potter. And the other actor, again, I don't want to give away too much, but of course, the other actor that truly shines in this film, thanks to what's given to his character, is Alan Rickman as Severus Snape. His performance truly made me feel his character and makes me feel guilty of taking him for granted in certain films throughout the series. My only gripes are probably the same as all those people who have said the same thing, is that it felt rushed in some parts. Even though I have not read Deathly Hallows, I'm sounding like a broken record here, but even without having read that last book, I felt like there were certain points when they rushed. Like I said, without giving too much away, there's certain characters that die. Obviously, this is the last film. Some characters are going to make it, some don't. And those who don't, the director, David Yates, he doesn't really manage to focus on that very well. Like, you literally just see people dead, lying, main characters dead, lying on the ground, and they're just there. They're dead, they're gone. Yet you didn't really, see how they died, or they didn't really take enough time to say, oh my gosh, this character that you just, spent the past decade with is now dead. Boom, he's gone. After all, if you want to get technical, this is the shortest Harry Potter film. This is only like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Scratch out those last 10 minutes for end credits. So it's only about 2 hours. We're used to having 2.5 hour long Harry Potter films. So maybe if they took their time just a little bit, being that they did have another half hour to spare, I think we really would have even cared even more. We would have felt a lot more emotional depth to these characters, especially the ones that don't make it through. And again, when that final bout happens, it would have. I wanted to feel goosebumps down the back of my spine, but unfortunately, I did not. I did feel a sense of epicness, and I loved it. But I just wish I could have gotten chills, and I unfortunately didn't. Nonetheless, I was emotional in the context that, when it was over and when we see that epilogue, I was like, man, it's over. You know, in when something ends just like this, you don't want it to be over, but you have to accept the fact that it is, and all that's left is to just wait until it comes out on Blu-ray. So overall, there is a strong chance that this is my favorite out of the series, and it's hard to attach that to the rest of the films, but as a standalone film, I gotta say that I absolutely love this movie. It's one of the very few movies of the summer that gets it right, that manages to really stay consistent with the story that it has been establishing, and at the same time just be overall badass. I give Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 a 9.2 out of 10, which is an A-, and I don't think they could have ended this legacy any better.